When NASA goes silent, people suspect it's politics. But when China, the European Space Agency, NASA, the United Arab Emirates all go silent at the same time about the same event, it gets people to talking. And right now on social media, people are certainly speculating that there's some sort of coordinated uh, data suppression event going on right now. But let me give you an angle that synchronizes with that and may be more rooted in reality. Is that there's the government shutdown with NASA, right? And this could be a nod from the other agencies, not wanting to take advantage of that situation. And maybe they are wanting to review the data since it's probably not going to be a HD clear photo that you can instantly go, oh, here's what this is. Maybe they need to analyze it. Maybe they need to break it down. When I first speculated that I thought it might be early this week before we got any decent images, I really I thought about that component, but the more I've thought about it, with the government shutdown and everything, I'm still leaning towards we could see a press conference, and it could be multi-agency, and they release their data and their findings, and maybe some coordinated messaging. I don't know, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that they found something and they're scared to tell us. And I mean, that's what's people were speculating, right? That, oh, they've seen something they can't tell us, and now they're going to suppress the information. I mean, some images have showed up on the NASA website with Rover, Perseverance, but that's the ones that look like an elongated orb, and that's probably an artifact of the photograph and a little bit of time lapse. And I had even speculated that we might see some streaks, that might be what some of the early images look like. And I was surprised. I was like, okay, that I thought that just based on the fact that the first images might come back from the ground based guys. And I'm just like, they take some great ground photos, but I didn't know how great they're going to be at that. However, we haven't seen the high resolution stuff, and we haven't seen the stuff they're looking at right now. It's very typical for all these agencies to do data embargoes where they just don't release everything at first, and they're looking at it. They want to make sure they completely understand. Last thing they want to do is put an image out there, and then we see something and it causes a furor, and they can't respond right away because they're still analyzing it. So guess what? This is a bit of a front end analyzation going on, some front end loading before they show us the images. I promise you, we're going to see the images. Yeah, I think it's going to happen in a press conference, but that hasn't been announced, and I don't know that for sure. But at least 5 spacecraft, MRO, Mars Express, ExoMars, TGO, ExoMars TGO, Hope, TN11 observed it. And normally within 24 hours, we would see more images. Um, TN11, China's space agency's orbiter, has released 14,000 images since 2021. And honestly, that agency tries to one up NASA every time they can. It's a healthy competition. It's kind of like, just kind of keeping the technical edge moving forward there. Um, I mean, there's speculation that if Atlas was a typical normal comet, and we got some good typical normal photos of it, uh, CNSA, the Chinese space agency, would have released them just as a slight nod towards NASA, right? But maybe because of the government shutdown, there's some professional um, coordination going on here. Uh, but it could be that they saw anomalies and they're looking at it closer. Could be. Um, it could be that the object is being treated as a strategic technology and not a comet. And that is also going to mean that they're going to analyze the data and not maybe show us everything right away. There's a lot of anomalies with this comet, so it wouldn't surprise me, right? Because we've already seen the extreme CO2 water ratios. We've seen the extreme nickel to iron ratios, unusual negative polarization. All those things could possibly be because it's from another part of the universe, and we're just not used to seeing things from that part of the universe. The trajectory probability That's a tough one. I mean, it come in retrograde, ecliptical plane. It's doing some close flybys on Mars and Jupiter. That's raised a lot of eyebrows, and the fact that it's so big compared to other objects. Um, an ancient big object moving very fast. A lot of those things are a little confusing because you would think that a huge object wouldn't have made it for billions of years going that fast. It would have hit something and been a little bit more broke up. But always room for something new. Um, there's been some statistical analysis of all these anomalies, and the odds are getting very interesting in that it's starting to favor, if on all these scales, that this could be something engineered, could be. But that's just analyzing the data, and this is also coming out of Harvard and Avi Loeb and all that, which there's some bias there because I think he's trying to sell books. But geopolitical rivals don't often coordinate space data. There's always a time for something new. But I can tell you this: I think we need that. I think we need all the agencies coordinating, right? Because if there's anything that we've learned from Atlas 3I, if it ends up passing through our solar system and there's no events and there's no big surprises, there's still the fact that a huge object traveling very fast showed up, and we could not respond to it. We didn't have time, and maybe we don't even have the technology. And maybe we need to start thinking about that. Maybe globally we need to start staging for these events, planning for these events, coordinating for these events. So the next one that's coming, because these close flybys at this speed and with that much mass, 33 billion tons, what if things were just a little bit different and we were going to have a planetary strike? We really wouldn't have much time to react. So it's time to think about that. And maybe this is the beginning of that, right? We're wanting to understand about that 17-minute cycle. Why is that happening? Is it rotational based? Is there something else going on? Like what's going on with the glow? Perihelions coming up. That's when the comet's path takes it closest to the sun, and that typically results in changes. And so, if it's a comet, it's going to change. If it's not, then it's either massive, which has its own complications about how possible that is. Because if it's massive enough, maybe the sun wouldn't affect it. We know that coronal mass ejection event was a big one, and it hit 3I Atlas, and it had almost no effect on it. That's when Avi Loeb starts saying, this thing has to be massive. It has to be massive. So we are still waiting on all these photographs. I thought by now we'd have more. It is a little interesting. I don't know what to make of it other than I think they're analyzing the photos. And I think, this week we're going to hear from them. We're probably going to see I think we may even see a coordinated press conference with the different agencies. But one thing that we know is it is time for these agencies to start working together and get ready for what's next.